Hey guys, so I'm doing a mathematics lesson for my focus learners. So as you had read in the discussion board, my two focus learners, James and Nick, they're both 6 years old in the same 12 to 1 self-contained special ed classroom. So James is diagnosed with a general learning disability and he's also hearing impaired. He's been hearing impaired since birth, so that's all he's known. With his general learning disability, he is not very good when it comes to keeping track of what he has to do, and he struggles with reading, maintaining steps when it comes to like mathematics problems or writing. So he really does well with having like the directions. Everything's mostly with him is he needs directives. So not just verbal directions, but visuals. So what the teacher does is she offers a lot of visuals. For instance, this. So for the lesson, I've incorporated this into it. So make everything colorful, highlight specific words, give him a lot of visual directions while also reading it. Since he's hearing impaired, he needs to sit close to the teacher, and he really does well with being able to look at the mouth and see directions while having them read. So that's how he really comprehends a lot of stuff. As for Nick, he's diagnosed ADHD and he's got dyscalculia. I'm sorry if I mispronounced this. It's dyslexia with math. So obviously his issue is he struggles with math. So he's very good with reading and directives, he's very good with writing, but his problem comes with math. So he'll often skip steps, flip numbers, get them confused, and with ADHD, he has a hard time with keeping track and following through with stuff. He gets easily distracted. So what I've learned through the classroom and then with the teacher, I've incorporated with the lesson, which is flow charts. So in the lesson, there's a lot of reminders. You know, this is what we're doing, this is what this is. Go over meanings of stuff, have a lot of visual aids, and also make things colorful for him, as this helps to keep him focused, maintain his engagement. So you'll see this as the lesson goes on. So for my Danielson rubric, I have 1B and 1E. 1D, demonstrating knowledge of students. So I demonstrated knowledge of students by incorporating ways to help them focus, understand, and take part in the lesson. So for example, I create reminders and descriptive directions with the work to help James know what to do and where he should be during the activity. I also create colorful text and directives for Nick to help him focus and remain engaged in the lesson as well. So for 1E, design a coherent instruction. Again, colorful text, reminders, flow charts, many examples. A lot of examples, a lot of modeling. The examples really help the students to know what they're working on and gives them the visual for like, this is how we're doing it. So it's not just verbal directions, it's visual directions, multiple choice answers, which you'll see with our quiz, and a lot of pictures. So for the HLPs, HLP 8, provide positive and constructive feedback to guide students' learning and behavior. Just as it states during the lesson, is just really offer the students a lot of positivity. This helps them build their confidence, especially being a 12 to 1, they do have their struggles. So even if they're having trouble with something, it's still very good job. I'm really proud of you. You're doing well. Let's keep this up. Here, let's help you with that. So that's really important for them. And then HLP 16, use explicit instruction. You'll see it in the lesson here. I write down all the directions. Like, all the directions are constantly there, and they're always available for the students. So what I do is, especially for our focus learners, is not only does like this and the rest of the lesson get brought up on the smartboard, but they also get printouts. So that will really be seen towards the middle of this. So on this Jamboard, not only do the students see what they need to do on the board, but it's also printed out, so like it will say like flip to the next page and so on, and that keeps them on track. So just to get started, lesson objectives: by the culmination of the lesson, Students will be able to identify a ruler, understand inches, and subtract the difference in size between two objects. I'm not sure what happened here with this line in the center. Okay. Applicable learning standard, measure and estimate lengths in standard units. So for them, instead of yardstick, meter sticks, and measuring tapes, we're starting with just the ruler. So here's an example of just explicit instruction and reminders. So we have learn and target. I can measure the lengths of objects in inches by using concrete models, so the students see this. And then here's our gentle reminders. Reminder, 12 inches equals 1 foot. Inches is also known as IN, which they see on their ruler. And then here is our 12-inch ruler. So before beginning the lesson and get into this part, this would be our differentiated part of the lesson. We would start off with this video.
Using a ruler to measure inches. Can you help me learn to measure? Here's my problem. I wanted to figure out the length of my pencil. I tried to measure correctly, but I kept getting different answers. Let me show you what I did. My first try, I got 6 inches. Do you see something wrong? My second try, I got 8 inches. Do you see something wrong? On my third try, I got 18 inches. Do you see something wrong? Oh, I think I understand. So I have to make sure I line up the object with the ruler. I have to start right at 0. And I have to pay attention to the unit to make sure that I'm using inches and not centimeters. Okay, so let's see. I put my pencil straight across the ruler. I started right at 0. And I made sure that I was using inches and not centimeters. So the pencil is 7 inches long. Awesome! Thanks for helping me learn.
So we would start off the lesson with this video. This just brings the students into the lesson and gives them an idea of, okay, this is what we're doing for today. Then I would start off with the actual lesson. We'll go over, each student would begin. My apologies, I don't have the hard ruler on me, but here's a printout. So they would all start off with something similar to this, just a standard 12-inch ruler. Each student has that. We would have actual manipulatives so that we can measure them. So I just did what I could do with, since we're on break, we're not in a classroom, I don't have access to material, but it would be similar to this. And then we would just go over that. I'd model it many times with the students. I would put images up on the board. We'll go over it time after time and really let them practice it. Then to differentiate it when it comes to independent work and group work, this is what we do, is we break off into, for instance, group 1, which is the stronger group out of the 12 students. And in the stronger group, they would each have an actual ruler, and they'd have 2 objects, and they'd work together as a group to, each of them has the same stuff. They all have to read the directions, so this would be part of the printout. They'd get this handed to them, and they'd have to follow the steps. First, measure these objects and subtract to find the difference. So they'd have these 2 objects similar in size to this. One might be 5 inches, one might be 2 inches. They'd have to write it down, object 1, 2 inches, object 2, 5 inches, and then object 2 minus object 1. Get the difference in between the size of the 2, and then go throughout the classroom and find 2 objects that have the same size. That's the difference between these 2 objects. So they'd have to find something that's 3 inches, measure it, and have 2 objects that measure to 3 inches. So it just lets them get up and move around. That comes in handy for Nick, since he needs to have that movement in the classroom, so this would really aid him with that. And just help him still maintain activity in the lesson while being able to expel some of his energy. And then again, group 2 would have their printout. This group would be our 2 focus learners, James and Nick, along with another student named Aubrey, who she is strong in both reading and math, so that she helps to bring them together and offers the, she rounds out the group, so like they all can work together. So they each have, like, James is good at math but struggles with reading, Nick is good at reading but struggles with math, and then Aubrey's good at both of them, so they get to do that together. So they have this printout. Group 2, same directions, except they're only looking for one object. Go to next page to get started. So again, directions. Similar layout, except they would have, again, it would look like this, but they'd also have the actual ruler, they'd have the actual objects. Matching colors as well to help them figure out, okay, this is what we're doing. And then their visual aids. Object 1, what's the size? Object 2, what's the size? Reminder of object 1 minus object 2 equals. They'd have to write that here. And then from there, another reminder, find one object that is the same size as the difference between the two objects. So again, whatever the two objects subtract to, they would have to go around the classroom and look for that one object. So that is how we would differentiate that. And as you see in here, we have our colors, we have our directions, we have our printout, so the kids constantly have an idea of what we're doing, and it gives them basically a flow chart on how to keep track on where they should be in the lesson and what should be coming next. It's, again, explicit instruction. It aids them with that. So then from there, after we finish up and we do our share out, we show each other, okay, this is what we did. The teacher goes over it, offers advice, offers that positive feedback, the constructive feedback. We move into a quiz. So not to go too far over time, what I would do is pull the quiz up on the smartboard. Each of the students, we see this. I pull it up. How many inches is the blue crayon? They get to measure it on here by looking at it, and then it's a multiple choice response. So they're not having to necessarily do too much, but this gives them a chance to take part in the lesson and for me to assess them. For instance, this one, just to go over and reinforce what we're learning, I can use a blank to measure length, and they have to pick from here, obviously ruler. We would skip that one since it's centimeter. Measure using inches. Again, another visual. Here's a spoon, and then have to measure it. Just another one. Measure this line using inches, and they get the answer. So this would be used throughout the lesson, as it's, obviously they're doing half inches, they're doing centimeters. So out of the 20 questions, I'd only ask them the questions that pertain to inches and full inches at that, not quarter inches or half inches. So and then as the lesson goes on and we build on it by breaking into half inches and so forth, I would continue going back. We'd go over the other ones to reinforce, and then bring in the new questions to build on what we're learning with our prior knowledge. So that is that. If I missed anything, I will add it into the discussion board with the rest of the information. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I will respond as best I can.